First, let me say, that's a very good Ohio State team, and they done a hell of a job with them. I think Wesson is developing into one of the great centers in our league. I thought our experience helped a little bit in the second half. I was very disappointed in the first half defensively. I thought we were a joke, and we just did not cover. Loose balls, long rebounds, they got everything, and that is intolerable for me. I thought offensively, we had some good shots. They did a good job. I had no problems with our offense. But our defense, we talked a lot this week. Defense travels. And the problem is when you start shooting threes and scoring 80 points a game, you think you can win it a different way. You don't win in this league on the road without your defense. And so I was, disappointed. I told Cash at halftime, and boy, what's really fun in this job, because there's not a lot of things that are, but what really is fun in this job is when you see guys grow and you see guys get better at something. When you challenge people and those people respond, that's probably the most satisfying part of my job. And Cassius did an unbelievable job this second half. I thought both Kyle and Matt McQuaid, who struggled early, and Nick was solid the whole game. And that's the other guy that grew a lot. We all know it was a disaster down here for him last year, partially because they were really good, partially because he let things get to him. And that maturity it makes me feel good about him. So I was really happy with the job he did. We had some other guys like Aaron Henry, who was absent the first half, did a much better job the second. But in general, that's a good basketball team that it was a physical game. It was a good game, I guess, for TV. And yet we got to play better if we're going to get to where we think we got to get. And I'm sure Chris feels the same way about them.
Tom, last year, you had that similar type of run late in the first half where it flips.
Yeah.
And yet there was a poise to this group in the second half that was different. Is that what you learned about this group tonight?
It was. And I'm going to be honest with you. Halftime wasn't a lot of fun this time because the effort-related things, when that ball bounces on the floor at the free throw line and nobody gets it, when we got a scouting report that tells you who goes right and who goes left. So, I felt comfortable at halftime because I didn't see us like, oh, the roof caved in. But I felt disappointed because, the lack of Josh, you really saw today. Because he's becoming much better leaders, and that's what Cassius. I mean, let's face it, I'm trying to have Cassius do everything, coach the team, drive the airplane, hell of a deal. But, it was better. We responded. That's a big key, but why did we let it get to that point as far as that goes? Now, they missed some shots too, so it's not nothing against them. We didn't do the things we were supposed to do the first half.
I talked a lot about Nick and feeling like he was more prepared for this, feeling like Nick's a more mature guy. Was today kind of that proof that, yes, all these things we thought about Nick it's all kind of happening right in front of us?
Well, we won the game because of Nick and Cassius, and Nick was solid. We went to him late, got guys in foul trouble. I thought we punched it in there pretty well. I think, but there is a process to that. I use that word about 100 times, and sometimes, if you think back a year ago, when I had a lot of people questioning me about Rutgers and what goes on, I tell Nick, trust me. I'll tell people, you got to trust the system. And this is the way it's supposed to be, There's a couple schools that make it so every freshman just this way at the beginning, but 90% of these schools you grow, just like Diop last year. That kid grew in this program and got better and did an unbelievable job. Nick Ward is heading in that direction. My only question is to you guys, we're not a better team than last year. Don't kid yourself. Can we become one? Maybe. But I think part of that talk, too, kids can't handle this stuff anymore. So I'm going to keep coaching, you keep writing, and hopefully they'll keep playing.
Tom, when you look at this game without Joshua, clearly I think biggest win of the season for you guys. Will you talk about this start to the Big Ten 4-0?
It's great because we beat a quality team. I thought we beat a good team in Rutgers. They had just beaten Miami, and they fell off a little bit. But Ohio State is not only a quality team, but very, very well coached. And, we kept using the term the last 3 days, one of the more solid teams we've played. Some teams are high-flying and can do this. Some teams are great defensively. Some teams, they are solid in just about every area, which is a great tribute to Chris. And but I'd say in general, anytime you get a road win, other years I'd say anytime you get a road win. Somebody asked me how the win against Northwestern was. I said it was great, because anytime you get a win in this league right now, it's something. If you get a road win, it's frosting on the cake, just because of how difficult the league is. The place was hopping today. It was great.
Coach, can you talk about kind of a throwback battle of the beast out there with Wesson and Nick really going?
Was kind of throwback, and I thought there was physical both ways, and that kid's going to be a good player. I think he's only a sophomore, and he's a young sophomore. I really like Wesson, but you know what? I'm really starting to like my guy, because he's listening. He's getting better. He's staying focused on the task at hand and what he's got to do. And so I love Wesson, but I love Nick Ward a little more. I just thought Cash was, it's hard to explain, but it's sometimes. I told him he needs me on his shoulder, like one of them little devils that are on your shoulder, with a fork. That's what he needs from me. If I'd shrink a little more and I could just stay there. Because as I told him, you don't know what you're doing when you're playing, because the hardest thing in the world is to self-evaluate. And that's why you need a coach. But sometimes you don't like hearing it from the coach. I mean, I told him early on, I kept my composure really well. And right before the half, that was inexcusable what we did. And, give up a three, give up a layup, throw the ball away, give up another three. We played enough of last year's film that they should know better. But you know what? Cassius not only took it, but he built on it. And that's really cool.
Kyle had a pretty impacting game. Can you talk a little bit about the move that he made to break that, or to put you guys back ahead with the dunk, and just the emotions of seeing him and Kenny, those bench guys kind of contribute like they did?
Well, yeah, and right now he's not a bench guy, but you're right. I mean, he's been a bench guy, and this was a big game for him too. I mean, not only is he in Ohio, but he's got his brother on the other team, and his poor parents had, Buckeye sweaters and Spartan underwear and somebody else's hat. I don't know, it was a hell of a deal. It's a tough deal for them, but it meant a lot to him. And I just loved the way those guys rallied around those two guys. And, I thought Kenny did some really good things, but I thought first half too, he just missing some easy shots, and we were over-helping. We just did some things, but Kyle Arns, that dunk, and then the offensive rebound might have been two of the biggest key plays of the game.
Aaron Henry, late in the game, some pretty critical minutes. How important is that in his continued kind of maturation here?
Well, they're really big, and excuse me, depending what happens with Josh and how long he's out, they become more and more important, and so will Gabe Brown. But, I'm just happy we got him some minutes earlier in the year, and so this isn't foreign soil. And yet going on the road in the Big Ten is different than going on the road at Louisville or Florida. It's just different. But I think the fact that we've been on the road in some pretty good places helped this team, and I think it helped our freshmen a little bit. We talked to them about that, the difference with a Big Ten game and how we had that 5-point lead. We missed 2 free throws, and all of a sudden it's back to 1, Those are learning things that seem to happen more in the Big Ten.
Could we get an update on Joshua, please?
Yeah, the only update I have is the future is a lot brighter than it was. They weren't sure if it was not a stress fracture because it's not in that area, but there didn't seem to be any break or anything, but those things and where it was could be, very long time or not. And I think what they did is they did something to him, and they'll see in the next 2 weeks we should have a clearer idea whether he responds to a little treatment or whether he doesn't. But I feel a little more comfortable today that he's going to respond to that treatment, but I also feel that he's going to miss a little time yet.
Other
I think I'm trusting my team and they're trusting me a little more. That's the most pleasing thing. There's certain wins that are big wins, and then there's certain wins that we talked a lot in those huddles at the end about finishing. And I think that's really critical, And when we made that turnover, I don't know how. I've never seen anything like that happen. You step out of bounds, throwing the inbounds pass in. I mean, that was, just ridiculous. But so the good news is we got a lot of work to do to get better and to get good enough to be a real contender for something here. But when you do that and you struggle and you still win, it gives a lot more teaching moments. So that'll be what's encouraging for me.
With Kyle, 76.5 with Kyle in the second half, 76.5 from the field. Were you getting that?
I wouldn't know because we're back to not being able to see here.
Or did they just start making them?
I thought our break got a little better, and we got some things off that. We cashed in a few more ball screens. We got something out of that. We got a few backdoor plays. Arnie got a big one. I thought we didn't settle for threes as much, but the threes were pretty good shots. I don't know. There's probably a variety of reasons, but I'd say the biggest reason is my brain guy, Mike Cassius. He just played so much smoother, and how many assists did he have? I don't know, 5? Well, he played a lot better than the 5 assists because sometimes he had a hockey assist or he put guys in the right position. And I just thought he was a big difference, even though the back cuts and all the things. He and Nick, two best players now that Josh are out are supposed to play well for you, especially on the road. My two guys did.
With those two, with Kyle and Nick getting knocked out a little bit, any concern with them moving forward? They obviously came back.
Kyle, I guess, hurt his ankle a little bit. I didn't even know. I didn't even see it. I didn't even know. I'm kind of oblivious to those things. And if it's an injury, I try not to pay any attention. But Nick, no worry about Nick. The one area that he can't hurt is that cranial. That thing ain't getting hurt. He might hurt some other areas, but that thing ain't getting hurt. And, when I went out there, I said, okay, he popped right up. And he said, yeah, he just got hit in the head, and he got hit, I think, on one of his arms when he hit the floor. But Nick's a tough kid, and so I'm not worried. Kyle, I don't know. Came back and played enough, but they taped it pretty good, so I don't know. Do you know? Anything else?
Tom, you mentioned not panicking.
Yeah.
At halftime. Did that disposition exist in the beginning of the year when things went sideways, or has that developed over the course of these whatever?
I don't know if they ever went sideways. I think what you have is a more experienced team. It's what everybody wants to have, and very few people have anymore. And so I think, after that loss, maybe the first half of the Kansas game, we were awful. Second half, we were pretty good. And then, the loss at Louisville, we're not going to go undefeated. And the loss at Louisville, playing without McQuaid, and then Cash is in foul trouble, Nick in foul trouble. We're no different than any other team. Nobody's good enough to win a lot of games if you have 2-3 guys either out or in foul trouble. So I think you got to give credit to the maturity and I think the experience. The experience matters. But this team's got a long way to go. We don't have a chance to make many mistakes. We don't have a shot blocker in the back. We don't have a guy that can jump up and block a shot. So we still got a long ways to go, but made some progress today. This was arguably a big win, and now we get to turn around and play Purdue at home. So that's the way the league's going to be. Chris is going to have to turn around and play somebody. It's going to be as maybe tough a league as I've been in my 24 years here. Thanks a lot.
Guys, it was anybody's game, about 5 minutes to go, and then they obviously closed the way they did. What did you learn about yourselves those last couple of minutes that you need to get better on the next time you're in a situation like that?
I feel like we gave them life at earlier in the game, so I feel like we just need to be better about keeping our foot on teams' necks and not letting up.
CJ, what were the huddles like there in the last couple of minutes?
They're always upbeat. I mean, no matter if we're down 5 or up 5 or whatever the case is, everyone's always talking. And we were communicating the time and score at the time. We just didn't go out there and execute.
CJ, you were out for some extended stretches. Is that cramping again that was bothering you?
Yeah.
And I know it's been an issue for you really through your whole career. Just where are you trying to manage that cramping issue?
This is pretty. This game was probably the worst of the year so far, but I'm just doing what the doctors tell me to, and we're gonna just keep managing. I'll probably come here tomorrow and take a look at things and just see where we can go from here.
And late in the second half, I think you guys had like a 5-minute stretch where you didn't make a field goal. I think it was from like 6 minutes to 50-something seconds left. Just offensively, what was the struggle for you guys down the stretch? You weren't able to get a field goal.
I just feel like at times we settled. You know, we didn't try to get paint touches. So,
Caleb, you were in great shape foul-wise, and then you picked up 2 and 3 really fast. Could you just talk about that stretch and when you picked up the second and third? There's like within 15 seconds of one another.
Yeah, I caught a silly one first, just trying to reach around and deny the ball in the post, and then I didn't know what happened the second one. I didn't even get an explanation when I asked, but I mean, yeah, it's just silly fouls I got to stop.
Caleb, we talked to you yesterday about going up against Nick. You had 25, he had, I think, 21. What did you think of the battle and the way you guys played each other today?
You know, Nick's a great player, and I feel like both teammates, both sides of the ball, you know, they was getting each other, giving us the ball. And we just went to work. You know, he's a great player, and I feel like his teammates got him in the right spots. My teammates got me in the right spots, and just had to go to war.
What was it like playing that physical of a game? I know you've played some big guys this year, but that might have been the most physical post matchup for you.
It was fun. You know, at times the refs were letting us play, but yeah, it was it's kind of game I like to play. You know, physical. And
was it tougher for you when you have 4 fouls and you're playing a game like that?
Yeah, because you know, when you have 4 fouls, you know, you got to give up some points. You got to give up different angles and stuff. But no, it's just something you got to deal with.
How did it feel in the final few minutes when they started pulling away? Was there a feeling in you guys that you guys would get it back, or like how were you guys feeling those moments?
For us personally, we've kind of been there before, so we kind of know that it's a long game. Even if it's under a minute, you got to take it possession by possession. I think the guys stepped over the line, and then we turned it back over. So just little things like that. The game's going to be long. Possessions will be long, especially towards the end of games. And we just have to continue doing what we have to do to, you know, stay close and when we're down a couple of possessions.
Coach Holtmann talked yesterday about you guys needing to play your best and pointed out a lot of statistics about Michigan State. How close do you think you guys are to that team overall, not just today?
Like Michigan State's team?
Just in terms of that level, you know, he pointed out all the statistics that they're near the top of the country, and so I'm curious where, now that you've played them, how close you guys think you are to that type of team.
Truly, I don't think we should have lost the game. I mean, I don't think they're any better than we are. I mean, we just had mishaps that happened late in the game that cost us the game. But no, I don't think there's any huge step or level that we need to take to be a team like that.
Defensively, the way they shot the ball in the second half, was it something that you guys weren't doing defensively? Were they just getting good looks? I think they shot like 73%. What needs to change for that not to happen against a team like that?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like at times we let our foot off their neck, and you know that can't happen when you got a team like that who they hit shots. They're top 10 in the country. You know, you give them life. I mean, they're just gonna take it and run with it. So.
Okay, I want to begin by giving Michigan State a lot of credit. Thought they were as we expected, played well, played like a really good team, really solid team in a lot of ways. So a lot to learn from this. Need to get a lot better, but give Michigan State credit for pulling out the win. I thought they were better than us in a lot of ways, and certainly when you allow a team to shoot 76% in the second half and score 50 points on your home floor, your chances are slim and none.
Was it something defensively that you guys weren't doing? Were they making shots, or why were they able to have a performance like that?
You know, they're a good offensive team. I think it was a combination of transition, half court. We put them on the line too much. We made some really kind of not the most intelligent plays with putting them on the line at times. And then, they converted on the line, and they were efficient. So it was a transition. It was half court, and then late when we made a miss, they got a key offensive rebound.
You've talked about learning about this team through adversity and in tough situations, and you were going to see a lot of them in the Big Ten. What did you see in your guys, and what were you maybe learning the last 4 or 5 minutes when Michigan State was starting to pull away and their shots were going in, your shots weren't? What did you learn about your team, you think, down the stretch that you didn't know?
I don't know that we'll have to look at it and see. I think, we probably had too much – I probably had too much youth on the floor in the last 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Looking back on, we were a little bit limited, obviously, with CJ's issues. But, looking back on, if I was to make a change, maybe I would try to get a little more experience out there on the floor. We just had too much youth at one time in that situation. Hopefully it'll help us moving forward, and we'll hopefully be able to execute better than what we did there late.
As far as from a matchup situation, Caleb Weston, just talk about the way he played against Nick Ward today.
Yeah, I thought he was really effective and assertive in the low post, and managed the physicality pretty well, got to his spots pretty well, and our guys did a really good job finding him.
When he's in a rhythm like that, and then he picks up his 4th foul, how do you gauge how soon you want to bring him back into the game when you take him out?
About like what I did. Bringing him back at, I think, 6.5 to go. Some of it is dictated by the game, and where's the game at, and is it still within reach. But if it's a 1 or 2 possession game, it's probably going to be, 6.5 minutes to go. And if he fouls out, he fouls out. But, I did not like one of his calls there late, that it wasn't his 5th foul. But you have to look at it. And
you feel like they called the game tighter at the end in comparison to how they've been calling it?
I thought the game was called a little bit differently than what it was last year. But I don't know if it changed in terms of how tight it was. That's certainly not the reason we lost. We've got to manage playing through physicality, and I would have liked to seen us get to the line a little bit more than what we did. That was disappointing, but we also have to foul less.
Chris, you kind of touched on it, but when you have a game where CJ's cramping, Caleb's in foul trouble late, and maybe Keyshawn's not playing at the top of his game, you can't get either of those guys 30 minutes. Is just this team not really built to win a game or even keep it in a game when you have those 3 guys limited in various forms?
It hurts us, without taking away anything from Michigan State. I think it does hurt us, perhaps playing some of those types of games with young guys on the floor will help us as we move forward. If we can kind of break down the game and teach better and challenge guys in certain ways, but I think the only way that you're going to improve in that is if you have a group that goes through it. Again, I don't know how many times we'll finish games like that, but we had to today.
And just listening to the way Tom talked about Cassius Winston and the way he played in the second half, he described Cassius as his, quote, like, brain guy, just sort of an extension of himself out there. And I know you have Keyshawn's new, and you've only been with CJ for a year and a half. Just those two guys, consistency-wise, like, where are you feeling that way about them steering the ship a little bit when you get into tight moments?
You know, I think Keyshawn needs to be more assertive and more aggressive, and I think across the board, you know, we had too many errors that are costly when you're in league play, and it's a missed block out there. It's a poor defensive transition. It's a missed assignment. You know, we just had too many of those errors. So that's where our veteran guys have to be on point. They have to really be at a high level in those areas, and we're not there yet. They have to lead the way in those areas, and we're not there yet. We're not. So coaches, we have to teach it more consistently and better, and as players, we have to do a better job of the stuff that we can control.
Jackson was on his way to one of those career games, and you're never the same when you come back after cramps. What exactly were you trying to do with him in the second half, and how much did you miss him pre-cramps?
You know, he tried to go back in, but he couldn't move, and he I think thought he could go, and then he switched a matchup on the floor that you know a matchup we did not like. We had a young guy on Cassius, and it wasn't a great matchup for us. So at that point, if you can't move and you're not, you know, he wasn't as, you know, the guys on the bench were saying he's not himself. So at that point, we have to try to go with somebody else. And you're right, he was playing well. I thought he was really active in the first half and led us in deflections. He was playing well. Now, again, if he plays 35 minutes, 10 more minutes, are we going to win the game? Who knows? But that's, you know, he had to come out at that point.
You talked yesterday very positively about Michigan State and the statistics and whatnot. I'm just curious now, having gone directly against them, where you think you guys are in comparison to kind of those elite teams.
We're not there yet. You know, we're not. We're certainly not there yet. You know, you let a team shoot 76% on your home floor and score 50 points, then you got a long ways to go. And I think that's a fact for us. So, you know, as I said, I don't know that you can make real significant assessments after one game. I think we'll know a lot more in 2 or 3 weeks as we go through this grind that is Big Ten play. Got a lot of respect for Michigan State. I still have a lot of respect for Michigan State. I think they're terrific. I think Tom's got a really good team. But as far as we're concerned, I just think we have a long way to go, and it's a group that we've enjoyed working with. So hopefully we'll continue to improve.
The effort that you got from Dwayne, who at times seemed to step in the moment, at times maybe had some tougher moments. What freshman growth? I don't know. What do you see from him today?
Inconsistency. Yeah, inconsistency. But really good moments. Really good moments that I think we can build off of. And was engaged in the game and you know, liked his aggressiveness. Thought his shot selection was a little better with the exception of one or two. One late that, again, I think hopefully as he gets older he'll understand you know, that we need to make better decisions in that situation. But, you know, he was inconsistent but gave us some really good moments.
Do you like seeing just kind of an old school physical matchup between Caleb and Nick? Like when you see two bigs like that just battling back and forth, do you enjoy that?
I enjoy it better when we win. So I don't know that, but it is old school in a lot of ways. You just don't see, you know, a ton of teams, although the team we're playing this next week, Rutgers, plays through their post really effectively. But you're right, it is old school in the sense that you just don't see a lot of that now in college basketball. But it's the makeup of their team and it's the makeup of our team. we got to get better at playing through the post and better at defending the post, and we have to have multiple guys that we can play through in the post.
Did you have a sense heading in that your players were looking forward to a game of this loftiness or caliber, or however you want to put it? Do you have a sense coming out that they're looking forward to the next one?
I would hope that they're looking forward to the next one. We got a lot of learning to do between now and then. As I've always said, you give a team like Michigan State tremendous credit because of the, what they face on a night-to-night basis based on the quality and the consistency of their program. So, any team that's coming in here, they've been top 10 the last 2 years we've played them. It's a great credit to them. I'm sure our guys were anticipating this game, but I don't know that I, as a coach, necessarily always have a great feel for that because, we're kind of focused on execution and the next play.
How did you feel the crowd was here in the shot today?
Tremendous. Yeah, I thought our crowd was tremendous. And
how important was it for you to get Justin in the game to play against his brother?
Well, Justin's a tremendous kid and has a very, very bright future. He's playing against his older brother who's, went through some ups and downs there based on injury and all that, and has really played a terrific role for them right now. So, I'm happy for his brother and excited about what Justin's going to become.